Everybody wants to be loved unconditionally. You want to be accepted. You want to be free from judgment. You want to feel like it's okay to be you, that you're accepted just the way you are, you're loved for who you are and who you aren't, and that you can just be in a relationship. Like we feel like, hey, that's my birthright, right? To at least be in a loving, mutually beneficial relationship. But that's not the case for some of us. Some of us are in extremely conditional relationships, ones that are one-sided, hurtful, that cause us anxiety, depression, resentment, sadness in general, feeling like we're being manipulated or abused or used. And, that's really the worst position to be in, because you can feel like you have everything else. But if you have a relationship that is causing you that type of pain, then it can kind of feel like, what's the point? And that's why I'm here. Because the truth is, you do deserve to have a wonderful life, including the relationships in it that light you up, fill you up, and actually are mutually beneficial. They're not one-sided, right? Where you're loved consistently, and love isn't taken and given like a commodity traded on, in the stock exchange, right? Oh, I love you when you're up. I don't love you when you're down, So, hey, today we're going to talk about what happens when you actually outgrow people. I'm Heidi. If you're new, I'm Heidi. Welcome home. I'm glad you're here. You're in the right place. If what I just described to you rings a bell. Today we're going to be doing our life lessons. LYFE stands for empowerment through loving yourself first. And that's really what it's about at the end of the day, isn't it? It's learning how to take all that love that you desire from other people and that you keep giving, that's not reciprocated, right? It's given and given and given, and you got taker, and find a way to not be delusional in thinking that if you actually love yourself first or put yourself first, that the world's going to fall apart, that that's a selfish thing to do. It's really not. It's really your turn and it's your time. So let's get into it today. Likely, if you're in a toxic or dysfunctional relationship, the reason that it's so damn toxic is because it follows some kind of dysfunctional rules, right? Remember the rules that was written way back in the day about like how to get a man? You follow the rules. We're, I guess, obsessed with rules. I really don't like rules. I like to break rules, but I have to tell you, for a very long time, whether I want to believe it or not, I certainly did follow some of these rules. I don't have a lock on dysfunctional family rules. It's really about my 20 years of studying this topic as being my area of expertise, pouring my heart and soul into studying it, and kind of picked all of what I've learned and what's been true in my own life and been true with my clients, and kind of brought it all together here for you. You can be in many different dynamics: mother-daughter, father-child, husband and wife, partner, friendships. I don't know why I'm doing this like I'm sign language, but basically it could be any kind of dynamic, boss and employee, but the rules are the same. And here's the rub. If you grew up in a toxic or dysfunctional household, these rules are ingrained in you like the ABCs. So either you're perpetuating these rules likely, or you're following them seemingly against your will. So let's look at the rules. Oh my God. These are not even all the rules, okay? These are just some of the rules that I'm going to be sharing with you. You might have your own rules. If you go over to lovecoachheidi.com, where this blog will be up and a place to comment, please go over there and comment, or of course comment here on YouTube and share what your rules are. But let's go over some of the ones that are pretty commonplace, right? Don't have feelings. And if you do have feelings, don't talk about them. Don't bring them up. And don't make them known, right? Just sit on your feelings. If you notice a problem in the house, okay, or with somebody acting kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, don't point it out. Don't point it out, because the last thing you want to do is don't rock the boat, don't disturb the peace, and don't make a problem. Go with the flow, man. Go with the flow. Some of the most chaotic situations in the world, and you're like, just go with the flow. Just go. Hey, the car's going off the cliff. Go with the flow, right? You have good training in going with the flow. Don't think too highly of yourself. You're not who you think you are. And really what I mean is, if you grew up in a toxic or dysfunctional family that's stacked with abuse on top of that, you might have been programmed into like not being able to trust what you think. In fact, you're not even allowed to think for yourself. You're going to be whatever everybody else tells you to do and be. Don't let your hair down. Don't relax. And don't have fun. There's work to do, and you need to stand guard. Now, this is really true, especially if you grew up in a dysfunctional household that was alcoholic or addicted in any way. And you likely were like, man, I can't have fun. Somebody's got to be the parent around here. And so you got programmed into not knowing how to have fun and not let your hair down. And you're always like hyper vigilant, standing guard. Nothing good ever happens. Nothing good ever happens. And if it does, it doesn't happen to me. And this is a version of waiting for the other shoe to drop and feeling like good things are meant for other people, but not for you. Don't trust anyone, ever. Pretty self-explanatory. Stay put, suck it up. Loyalty counts, even when it's not deserved. So again, just stay right where you are. Don't worry about making any waves or rocking a boat. Be strong, no matter what. Weakness is not okay. Vulnerability is not okay. So you need to be strong and stand your ground. Make it look good all the damn time. And if it doesn't look good, polish it up and make it look good. If it doesn't look, pretend it's good even when it's not good. And don't trust your own judgment, because when you're in a house full of crazy, you start looking around and when like, you're the only sane one, but eventually you go, am I nuts? Is everybody else kind of sane, but I'm the only crazy one? You start to really question reality. What do you think of those rules? Have you followed those rules? Can you relate to those rules? What has your life been like when you follow those rules? I know because I lived it. I lived my entire life playing these rules, and I can tell you what happened for me in particular. My rules that I followed for sure, I hope I'm not making you dizzy, were if you have feelings, don't talk about them and don't acknowledge them. Suck it up, buttercup. Don't let them see you sweat. And if there's a problem, don't draw attention to it. Just pretend you're fine all the time. And as a result, I kind of developed these different like personality personas. Not that I have multiple personalities, but it feels like it, because really you're a chameleon. You're not yourself. You're whoever anybody else needs you to be, except for who you really are. And so then you're just morphing yourself into people. That's what you become, a people pleaser. A people pleaser, somebody who just cares more about other people's approval than of your own kind of existence and what really matters for you. Well, guess what happens? One time in your life, you grow. Well, not one time, but there'll be a time where you have an awakening. And you will have a come to Jesus. For me, it was I was living my life for achievement, just trying to fill the hole with awards and climbing corporate ladders. And I was still climbing ladders, but in very dysfunctional relationships. I was really in a lot of pain emotionally. I was never sharing my feelings. I was covering it up, burying my feelings with alcohol, food, shopping, isolating, sleeping, anything except for talking about how I felt. And one day, it all came to a head. I lost everything in 2008. And I just remember going back home, rolling my Louis Vuitton luggage, oh, isn't that cute, up the hill in Westover, West Virginia, to my dad's ramshackle shickety shack of a house on top of the hill in Westover, West Virginia. Okay, my alcoholic dad's house. And I rolled my bags. I thought I'd escaped, all right, all those years before, and made it like a city girl. Ooh, I'm a big corporate diva, right? But here I was coming back home, and I rolled in my bags, past like the beer stained carpet and the cat pee everywhere and the nicotine stained walls, and put my bags down. And I was like, how did I get here? And I knew how I got there. That is how I got there, okay? By following these crazy rules about putting myself last and everybody else first, to the point that I was running, and I won't do that again, I promise. Getting to the point where I was running and numbing from myself, putting everybody else's needs before mine. And in that moment, I asked myself two questions that saved my life. What am I no longer willing to settle for? And what do I really, really want? And out of those two questions came my kind of system that I followed, my step-by-step wellness plan that I implemented for myself. And as a result of that, was able to create the life I really wanted. A woman that's, believe me, honey, not afraid to speak her mind. Not afraid to rock the boat. Rock it, baby. Capsize that MF. Capsize it. All right? And I can tell you, if that's true for me, somebody was like a little mouse, afraid of my own shadow, worried to say the wrong thing, judging myself all the time. If I can do it, honey, you can too. All right? Not only that, but I've since helped hundreds of people go through the same process that are also empowered and rooting down in their worthiness. So I'm going to give you 4 tips today when you have that epiphany, like I did, that come to Jesus moment, right? But I'm going to tell you, even though I'm going to give you these 4 tips today, don't confuse it. Awakening is not enough. You actually need a step-by-step system. That's why I created Life School. Love Yourself First Empowerment School, it's a 3-month immersive experience where I come alongside you for 3 months in a program and actually walk you through these 7 new rules to live by, new rules that will change your life. But today, I'm going to give you these four things that are still going to get the ball rolling in the right direction for you, because it's my pleasure to serve you, okay? So let's say you've had the epiphany and the awakening, you go, no more, Lord, hallelujah, let's get some change in my life. The first thing you need to do is, now I'm going to use this board to teach. I'm just a teacher in my core, right? I'm just a teacher. I pretend I'm a speaker and a life coach, but I'm a teacher. So G is for get real. I'm going to use an acronym of GROW. Teachers like acronyms, and so do I. So GROW. G is get real. You have got to be willing to stop minimizing, justifying, normalizing, pretending, placate. You have to be willing to call it out. You have to be willing to violate rule number 1, which is if you see a problem, don't draw attention to it. Now, here's what likely happens. When you first start getting real and you first start like exposing the truth, maybe you feel your feelings. For example, you're with somebody, you've been playing, maybe it's your mom, you've been playing rules. I just got an email about this recently. A woman was playing by the rules with her mother, biting her tongue, going along with it. Suddenly one day she was like, I'm going to express my feelings. She just had this moment. And what do you think happened? She got rejected and abandoned, and she got ignored, and she got shamed for having the feelings. And then the client went into like the 5 stages of grief, right? Almost like on autopilot, but stayed in bargaining. Meaning what we do is we go, well, if I would have played by the rules, this wouldn't have happened. If I would have done what I really needed to do, this wouldn't happen. Honey, get real. It just would have happened another day, another way. Another day, another way. And so when you're real about stopping the fantasy, listen, I used to fantasize all day long when I was a little girl that I had like a normal family. Be like, I wonder what that would be like, about having different parents in different situations. That's not what you have. You don't have what you think you have. You've got to get rid of the delusion of the picket fence that you've created in the construct of your own mind and realize that you are in a broke down pit of despair. Remember the money pit? Okay, remember that house? That's your house. That is what you're really dealing with. And so you've got to be willing to take the blinders off, to take the rose-colored glasses off. I call that toxic positivity, where it's like we're unable to look at something how it really is. We only see it how we want it to be. You have got to be willing to see things as they are. Get real. Now, when we work together inside of Life School, this is one of the things that I'm able to do, is to help people understand who it is that they're actually dealing with and what they're dealing with. And then we move into step 2, which is release the hostages. Oh my God, Heidi, hostages, that's really harsh. What are you talking about? Well, you're holding people hostage. You know your mother? You're holding her hostage to a role you want her to play for you. When you think of mother, you think of kind, warm, compassionate, sweet, encouraging, a safe place to be, a nurture. You ain't got a mommy, you got a Raquel. Okay? You don't have a mommy, you have a June. And June behaves how June behaves. And if you get real and you see people for who they really are, instead of who you want them to be for you, that sets you free. It enables you to stop with the delusion of holding out one day that I have a husband. A husband is loyal and wonderful and supportive and encouraging and consistent. You ain't got yourself a husband. You got yourself a Rick. All right? And Rick behaves how a Rick behaves. All right? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to like get real. All right? We have to be willing to see people for who they really are. And actually in Life School, I have a 7-step process that I walk people through to help you release the hostages. Some of you are looking at your people in your life that are dysfunctional and toxic, and you keep bargaining and going back in and playing the rules and expecting that person to actually wake up and love you the way you deserve to be loved is like looking at a man with no legs and telling him if he loved you, he'd walk. It's like, hear me. Expecting that person to stop being dysfunctional and cray-cray and whack and nutso, jutso, okay, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. is like looking at a man with no legs and expecting him to walk, and actually saying, if you love me, you walk. That man ain't got no legs. Shirley is not a mother. Rick is not a husband. All right? I want you to hear that today. That alone will change your life. But again, insight without action is pointless. Awakening without action is pointless. So let's go to the O. You can look at somebody else now. You can go, oh, okay, I got a Rick. I see. I've got a Rick. I've got a Bobby. That makes total sense, Heidi. Ding, ding, ding. Light bulb went off. Awesome. Next step. How about this? Own yo shit. Own yo shit. And I say that like, own my shit. Well, I have to own my shit too. There's a quote about enlightenment that says, true enlightenment is the ability to see your own bullshit. Isn't that the truth? You know, it's biblical, right? The log in your eye compared to the speck in somebody else's. And here's what I mean by that. If you ask yourself, why do you keep going back? What is it about this person that you outgrow them, but you keep getting sucked back in and getting hurt again? Why do you keep signing up? Why do you keep staying in this situation? And at the root, I remember when I was a life coach, and like I still am, but I was actually a life coach, and I worked as a teacher and a life coach inside of one of the world's leading drug and alcohol treatment centers. And I did that for 7 years, day in and day out, with some of the most downtrodden, I don't really like that word, but some of the most hurt people, the people that were in the biggest dysfunctional relationships you'd ever seen in your life. Look at this. I gotta take care of this. We got a situation. Okay. We got a sitch. I love you too, but behave, go. And they were in really super dysfunctional relationships, right? And I'd say to them, hey, what's the one thing you could learn to master that would change your life absolutely forever? And unequivocally across the board, every single time they would give me some version of this, I need to learn how to love myself. And so what that means is, instead of waiting for the other person to change and putting all your power into somebody else, you have to realize the reason you stay is because you don't know your worth. And once you really wrap your head around that, you can get to work on actually changing this forever and for the better. And with one person means you change it with everybody. Did you ever hear that saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water? After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. That means the light bulb goes off. Ding, I'm glad it does. I love that. When my clients say, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. It's like, ooh, orgasm. I love that, okay? But even my ego is not delusional enough to think that that's enough. Like just saying something a different way so people get it. What I know for sure is now we need to go to work. And that's the reason I created my step-by-step system. That's the reason, because we need new rules to replace the old rules, right? You have to deprogram yourself. And know that when you get to work, now you can actually make some movement. I wanted to say one more thing I remembered. Back in here, when we say, this is why this is so important, own yo shit is so important. Here, when we release somebody from our expectations, right? When we release them from the role we put them in, I want you to hear something. People, now it's going to sound weird coming from a coach. You ready? People don't change. People don't change. People evolve closer to their truest nature, hopefully, right? They're either evolving or devolving, right? But they really don't change. I remember when I was working at the drug and alcohol treatment center, and somebody would say, well, a husband or wife would come in and say, well, when my loved one gets sober, then they're going to be kind and loving and considerate and compassionate. But what really happened is they thought the alcohol or drugs were the problem. They weren't. They were the solution. When they got sober, guess who they were? Angry, bitter, resentful. There are people that get sober and change their behavior patterns, and then they actually, more of their truest nature is revealed. But drugs and alcohol amplify the nature. They don't totally change somebody into a different damn person. All right. They amplify the nature. Money doesn't change people. Money amplifies people's essence. That is the truth of anything that we do. All right. So if somebody looks like they've radically changed in your life, and maybe you're one of these people that you're going to change, right? You think you're going to change. I'm going to tell you this. You are who you've always been, but the masks you put on to people please and to pretend and to be who you need to be for other people, that's what's kept you from being who you really are. You don't need to change. You need to let go of the shit that's not you so you can reveal your most authentic self. A lot of you are hoping that that's not so-and-so's authentic nature. Honey, it is. I'm telling you it is. How do I know? Let's stop being so self-righteous and think that everybody in the world is a kind, loving, generous person. No, they fucking aren't. There are locusts and there are honeybees. And everybody in the world has a purpose, and we can't all be honeybees. Some of us have to be locusts. All right? So stop with the self-righteous, like delusional, like, oh, I know you're a good person in there. No, they're not. They're who they are. Release the hostage. Set you free. Now let's go to work. I really hope that you join me inside of Life School. It's a 3-month immersive come alongside you experience. You can go to lovecoachheidi.com. You can send me an inquiry about it and we can talk about it. And I would love to have you in there because here's the deal. I know for sure if you apply these 7 new rules, these 7 self-love vows with my self-love system, and you tackle one at a time these things, I know that it will break you free to be fully you for the rest of your life. It will literally emancipate you from this delusion that you're not enough. And then you're able to do anything. Then you're able to conquer the world, create the vision, create the dream, and really be you. And if you don't want to go out there and conquer the world, how about you just be authentically happy? How about you just create authentic joy, right? Wouldn't that be worth it? I love you so much. I look forward to seeing you over at lovecoachheidi.com, and leave me a comment, all right? Take excellent care of yourself. Bye-bye.